waiting for the recording to get started. Okay. So the recording is on. Whoever misses, whoever is not in class will not miss our recording from the start. So good. My mic is, the volume may not be high. So last week we've recapped on what we looked at, and today we are continuing. We are looking at the we looked at nutrition deficiencies, and today we start, or this week we look at nose and throat infections. Nose and throat infections. On nose and throat infections, I would like us to know that they are the most common infections for children, and they are transmitted through direct and indirect contact with the nose and throat secretions. In particular, those of an infected person. And this can happen as a result of the following. One, when an infected person coughs or sneezes without a tissue or a handkerchief to cover their nose, and we say you can do it on your elbow, but then that works when you're wearing your mask. When you're not wearing, you can still do it, or do it on your chest. But then when you do not have to cover your nose and mouth, tiny droplets containing the virus or bacteria that is ailing you, that is causing sickness in you, can travel through the air, and it can infect a person who is close to you. And in most cases, someone who is less than a meter away. When a sick person coughs or sneezes, when the mouth is not covered, trillions and trillions of saliva and secretions from the nose and the mouth are left floating in the air. And they can float for even 2 to 3 hours after one sneeze. So if one person sneezes in a class, another one sneezes, and another one sneezes, you can imagine the trillions and trillions of bacteria that are left roaming in the air. They are left floating in the air. An infected person, and this is the second, I hope I'm audible. So the second.
You can hear you.
Okay, thank you for feedback. So we said one, an infected person coughing or sneezing without a tissue or an handkerchief. Two, when an infected person who has the virus or bacteria on their hands, after wiping their eyes, on their hands, or sneezing, touches another person's hand, or even an object like a doorknob, the lift buttons, a staircase, the virus or bacteria in their hands and can infect the next person when that person touches their eyes, their nose, and their mouth after they touched the surface touched by the person that is already infected with the virus or the bacteria. The third way that infections can be transmitted is when viruses and bacteria remain on surfaces. Like say you sneezed. The walls, the doorknobs, the walls, the windows, the desks, everything in that class. And if you carry your bacteria from the second point, that is through your hands, by touching your sneeze, your cough, your infected eyes, your dripping nose. When these fluids from the body are transmitted to a surface like doorknobs by you touching them, telephones, the way you are with it, you go to the toilet with it, you go everywhere with it, you come home, you give it to your child. You can imagine all the bacteria that this phone has been accumulating just because it's exposed all the time. It is held by hand, it picks the sneezes, the coughs. When you touch doorknobs, you touch it. So it transmits literally phone. So when you give it to someone else, you spread the disease from where you are throughout the day. And believe me, some of you that are home, you've already given your children the phone to go and play with. You've not disinfected it. You've just given it. They will get hold of it. They'll touch it. They'll rub their eyes. They'll put their fingers in the mouth. And that is how infections of nose and throat are spread. So when this happens, when viruses and bacteria remain on surfaces and doorknob, by the way, I need to mention here that when you sneeze and when you cough, from one cough, one sneeze will be live and ready to be transmitted from the source where they are touched, from the moment you sneezed up to 2 weeks. So you can imagine if one child is coughing in a class, aerial infection, bacterial infection that leaves your mouth and attaches on the wall or on a doorknob, it will be alive for 2 weeks. So now you can imagine if that why you can understand why when one child comes in, the child is not well, the whole class will get sick, and the sickness cannot get to clear because the sneezes are hanging, the coughs are hanging, the bacteria, the viruses are alive and renewed every other hour. So before the 2 weeks are even done, there are others waiting for 3 days, 4 days, more 2 weeks. Their bacteria from the moment to eliminate that disease is actually to disinfect the class when children are not there. And then if you want to be safe in your class, when a child comes with throat infection, running noses, kind of cold they bring, you actually need to ask them to go home, and then they come when they are well. In the US, you can be sued if you pass, or if you go to public places, sorry. If you don't, you can be arrested. You're supposed to be at home and not to go spreading the infection. So in schools in Kenya, what we do, you're told when one child comes and the child is well, you send them back home. They can only be in school if they're on medication, because once they're on medication, then the bacteria cannot be spread from one person to the other. Yeah, so as much as they're sneezing and coughing, the coughs, the sneezes, the infection in their virus, in their bacteria that are attaching anywhere are already weakened, and they cannot cause a strong infection, but it can be mild. So you're advised to only go out after you've taken medication for 3 days, that you can, then a child can go back to school. In the US, you don't leave your home until you're well. Otherwise, you're caught. And it's a crime that you pay for. So you say number 3, viruses and bacteria remain on surfaces like doorknobs, like telephones and toys for many hours. And these hours go up to 2 weeks. And thereby, now you can understand why an infection goes round and round and round, and it just cannot end. People working with groups of children should assist them when using or disposing of tissues, because these tissues, how they are used and how they are disposed of, will actually determine whether there will be infections or no infections. Whether that disease that you have, the virus, the infection that you're carrying, will be spread from one person and to the next person. So having said that, we need to be very, very careful with how we dispose of used tissues by children, by helping them on the way to use them and on the right way to dispose. And disposables are advised for use, because then even this child, once they have deposited whatever mucus or secretions from their body on the tissue, that one is done. If you keep doing it on a piece of handkerchief and you use that handkerchief throughout the day, again, that handkerchief will be a source of spreading the bacteria. Every time of dried mucus and particles go fly in the air, and other children breathe and inhale it, and they get infected. So the 4th way that infections can be, the 5th way that infections are spread, the nose and throat infections, when children share food. Yeah, you have a lollipop, one child sucks it, gives it to the other, and that one gives it to another one. So if one of them has a cold, throat infection, nose infection, they get it. So when they share foods, drinks, utensils, soothers, the ones that babies suck when they cry, bottles, let's say you're drinking water from your bottle and you give 5 other children to drink from the same bottle. When you use toys, and these toys, you're licking them, you're sucking them, you're biting them, etc. Also, when people kiss, children kiss each other. Kisses are exchanged, the bodily fluids that they exchange can also keep the cycle on. on and on and on. We have diseases, nose and throat diseases that are common because they vary. And not only the running nose, there are other diseases that are related to the nose and to the throat, spread from one child to the other. And those are the ones I want us to focus on. I'm not so sure I'm able to share my screen so that I can show you that. Let me see. I hope my voice is okay on your end.
Yes, Doctor.
It's okay.
So I'm trying to share my screen. Okay, on my end, I think my speakers are not good, but it's okay if you can hear me well. I'm trying to share his screen. Where has it gone to? It has gone to share. Okay. Okay, here it comes. So I hope you're able to see those diseases right there. Do I? Okay. Sorry. What is this? Yeah. Oh. Okay, you can see. Right?
Yes, we can see about examples of disease spread in this manner are.
All right. Yes. That's what I'm presenting. So we have the first disease right there. And that first disease is which one?
Sore throat and tonsils.
Sore throat and tonsillitis. Sore throat is not. Sore throat is when you are inflamed at the back of your throat. There is inflammation. There's redness, and tonsillitis is when you have tonsils how they look like before we exit. So it's a day on your tonsils. And then now, when they're hurting because of those bacteria that have accumulated in the holes of your tonsils, then they lead to inflammation. You pain literally because you have something rotting in your tonsils. Sometimes they can come off by themselves, and other times you might need to have tonsillitis. And also note that when you don't say you have tonsils, because sick, you say I've got, I have tonsils, because everybody has got tonsils. But your tonsils are sick. So when they are sick, we call it this. Now, The symptom that you get when you have sore throat and tonsillitis is you have difficulty in swallowing because there is pain. If you're inflamed, there is pain. When they are having tonsil stones, so swell. Then that we need to take, you take immediate treatment to prevent development of heart disease. You remember the last week I told you of heart checkup that I did, and the doctor was able to actually tell me that I suffered from younger because there was something in my heart that actually was showing that if this treatment was not being given, something was to go wrong somewhere, because I kept having sore throats today, tomorrow, the next day. So when you have sore throats every now and then, your heart is affected. So you take immediate treatment when you have sore throats and when you have tonsillitis to prevent that from becoming a heart disease. And I remember telling you how my husband would always say, watch our wakunywe the strongest antibiotic so that they don't develop heart diseases. Now, so you take immediate treatment. 2, you gargle warm salty water, or you can also gargle the solutions, the mouth solutions that are there in the pharmacies. That's why whenever you have anything to do with gum disease, mouth sores, tonsillitis, sore throat, warm water will give you a good. Then wipe the child's body with a wet cloth. And you wipe the child with this wet cloth, not cold as in freezing water. Panguza mtoto na kitambaa iko baridi. When the child is running high temperatures like 39, and then you wipe them in a cold with a cold piece of cloth with cold water, a towel with cold water, you place it on their forehead or on other part of their body, wipe throughout the body. That child can actually get convulsions because the body is not able to absorb that shock. So even when we say you wipe the baby, actually warm water will do, because warm water will cool off in the body after you wipe. The best option even is to remove the child all clothes, the temperature will go down by itself normally. You can also give them paracetamol for that, or you can also give them orally or through the anus. And then through the anus, that's a drug that is not given over the counter. You can only be given that in the hospitals. And case that is given, the one that is through the anus, because then again, it can actually mess the child's, what do we call it? The anal area. And you don't want fast relief, the same way it can cause madhara zingine. Okay, so now that one is sore throat and tonsillitis symptoms and its intervention measure. Then we have the scarlet fever, and strep throat. When a child has got scarlet fever and strep throat, that's we observe. One, the child will have a red rash, not just any rash. The rash is reddish. Red rash that looks like a sunburn, and when you touch it, it feels as rough as a sandpaper. It will begin and spread to the other parts of the body from the chest or from the stomach. And when this rash occurs, it can last for a minimum of 2 days or for a maximum of 7 days before it goes away. Another symptom, when this rash now fades away after 2 days, after 3 days, after 4 days, depending on a child's body and the immune system, when the rash fades, the skin on the hands and on the feet may start to peel, you know? Inang'oka tu mangozi zinatoka. You can peel literally, get hold of a skin and pull it. It will peel the way you peel avocado cover. The same way you can peel the skin off. Now, when this is happening, a child will be running high fevers. High fever starts from what? Reading of the thermometer. Because I mentioned it in this class. It starts from, how do you know your fever? Rachel. Daisy, how do you know you're running a high fever when you take the thermogangs are everywhere? They take the measurements and show you. How do you know the measurements you're given is good or bad? The reading they are showing you is good or bad? James, Mariana.
Eunice here.
Yes.
When the temperature is above 37.5 degrees or below that. No. When it is above 37.5 degrees
35%?
centigrade. 37.5.
No. No, Eunice.
Anjali,
So anything above 36
Anjali,
is bad.
I'm saying 37.
You are running a fever. When it's beyond?
Yes. When it is beyond 30.
Even when it's 36. When actually it's 36.8, 0.9, 0.6. Anything, now you round off a number when it's above 5. Sindio? So when it's 35.5, you're starting to cook a fever. But now we say this one is mild and we can ignore it. You take your paracetamol and then you can. But now, chances are it will keep going up from 36.5 to 35.6, 0.7, 0.8, then 37, then 38. Now, The fevers that are banned, the ones now you can put a wet towel or remove a child clothes, is the one that is 38, 39, 40. That child must be hospitalized because the child won't be conversing. So when it's 38, that 8.5, 39, that one is very, very bad. A child should be taken to a hospital facility ASAP. Again, now, when fevers are low, again, it's not good. So anything below 36 is not good. So if you have that 5.8, that 5.9, that 5, I've seen diamond gangs where the security gangs take you and they tell you it's 32. I ask, if that diamond gun is not working, 32, then I'm very sick. I shouldn't be in a hospital facility. And they don't mind about it as long as it's below 36. But when it's to 37, unasikia, hey, hapa iko shinda mama. But actually, again, it is a problem. So now I have light on the readings of the monitors. So you understand when you talk about someone is having high fever or someone is actually running low fever. So low fever, now you feel cold, yeah? You shiver. So sometimes you'll get it like when you're malaria, your temperature will go very low and go very high. It will not be normal. It's either up or low. And that one is a problem. So this child with scarlet fever will also have nausea. Nausea is like to puke, the feeling of I want to vomit. Yeah? You smell something, you want to vomit. You wake up, you've not taken anything, you feel like you want to vomit even if there's nothing in your tummy. Then actual vomiting also. You either have nausea or you're actually vomiting the sore throat. Yeah, your throat becomes sore, it becomes red, your lips become swollen, and your tongue also becomes red, your cheeks become flushed, your mouth become pale. It looks white, imeparara. Then signs of the strep throat, fever. So you have fever from the strep throat also. Your lungs also swell, or the lungs of the child also swell. That is, the lungs, not now the tonsil glands, we call them the lip glands. Then the tonsils become swollen and a child will lose appetite. That is Scarlet fever. Now, what do you need to do when a child is having this? You exclude the child from school and send them home, and can only accept the child back, like I said, once they're on medication. Because when they're on medication, and not just taking medicine right here in class, no. You have to go home and you can be home for 3 days. And that doesn't work, so 3 good days the child can be at home taking medication and now can come back after 3 days. Then carefully dispose of the tissues, the disposables that they have used, like tissues, like serviettes, and clean the handkerchiefs well with salt or disinfect them with jig. Clean their plates well, disinfect them, and anything else that has touched their dots and nose secretions, including their sweaters, because in most cases when their handkerchiefs are swollen, chances are they're going to use their clothes. So make sure you dispose what can be used, like clothes and utensils. Okay, and toys, things like that. Then treatment is important, so you don't do those things at home and now you have disinfected and have disposed of whatever needs to be disposed. So now we should be okay. The child is still sick, remember. The child is not on medication, remember. So take the child for treatment and then have them monitored by a doctor. Okay? If they keep the scarlet fever for medication, fever, and when they get rheumatic fever, the disease becomes advanced and sophisticated just because the strep throat was not treated. And from the strep throat, streptococcal infection occurred, which links to rheumatism fever. So those are two diseases that we've looked at. The sore throat and tonsillitis, the scarlet fever and strep throat. And now the infection that we look at is the common cold. The common cold. From where you sit, you may not know which one is common cold and which one is uncommon. But we also know there's a common cold that comes when the weather changes from warm to cold. Everybody wakes up from their homes not because someone has caused the infection, but people wake up with this. And this happens, you can tell it in your classes. Children were okay, and they like today. Then tomorrow, the weather changes, it's cold, it's 20% of children in class come with a cold, which they did not have the previous day. So that one we call it a common cold. It's a common cold. Again, they will manifest in sore throat, fever, cough, and this cough is actually wet and dry. Wet cough and dry cough. Then congestion, and congestion here is of the chest congestion, running nose, headache, tiredness, moodiness, nataka sitaki sijui, lack of appetite. I want to eat this and don't want to eat it anymore. Then treatments. How do we take care of common cold? A child should be kept warm, give a lot of warm fluids, not cold, and get enough rest. Bed rest, that is. Not sitting in the sitting room with open windows watching watching TV. No. Bed rests under warm beddings. So treatments for coughing is necessary.
Doctor, you have stopped
Because if it's not
sharing.
treated, just like the tonsillitis, it will lead. Yes.
You have stopped sharing.
Sorry.
You have stopped sharing.
We can't see the presentation, Doctor.
Oh, presentation still. I don't know. Maybe these people that are coming are interfering want to admit to one. There is Gachozinda that I'm admitting and screen is. Okay. Linda, get admitted. Linda amekatalia hapo basi. So ndio deny entry. I can see I'm still presenting actually, so the screen is hanging, maybe. Okay. I think it's hanging and also to let me go back if you cannot see the presentation. Okay. So finally she's admitted, the Linda. Now that she's admitted, you'll be able to see. All right. Oh, she's not. Hey, this Linda is still here. Boys, your hand is up. Royce, your hand is up. Okay, or you did not know it was up. Okay. So I'm back to sharing. So and there we are. So that is it on the common cones. If the cold is just starting and mild, you can treat at home. Because we say 7 days. But then you can also take it down from it. But if there's a you need to go take the child to a health center. So now we've looked at those 3 diseases. The strep throat and scarlet fever. And now the common cold. Coughing, sneezing, is misbehaving. But before it started misbehaving, we have looked at, and I present again. I'm presenting again. I hope it works. I don't know why the network is having problems now. So we've looked at green diseases up there: sore throats and tonsillitis, scarlet fever, and strep throat, and influenza now. And common colds, and now the fourth one is influenza. Now, am I presenting? Well, again, there is no network.
Yes, doctor, you are presenting. You can see.
Okay. So then influenza, the symptoms are fever, cough, sneezing, and these are common in children. Then when influenza is serious for children less than 2 years of age, you need to be seen by a doctor for advice, and it can be worse if it's not treated. For children below 2 years and above 65 years of age, and especially other people asthma. Hepatitis A, hepatitis blood pressure, etc. Then the treatment is going again now. Well, but the good thing, it has come back, so that's okay. And now someone else wants to do it, saying, all right. I think I have network issues today. Okay, I'm admitting you, Chambo, but it's not taking you in. Right. So I'll come back to admit you later. Because now I think you will be thrown out now by you. All right, then another infection Asthma. Asthma. Okay, so what's happening? Significant are increasing. Oh, okay. Keeps drawing us out. And so asthma, the symptoms: wheezing, short, coughing, either during the day or at night.
The screen is lost again.
Sorry for that. My network is having problems. So I don't know. So it's on and off. I think we will just have to do with it the way it is. I'll start presenting again so that we can continue. I'll repeat again asthmatic attacks because I don't know at what point we lost the network. So for asthma, we said you'll be wheezing, lack breath, have trouble coughing. This was during the night because of the cold. At night it's cold and the body is not exercising. Chest pains, chest tightness, and decrease in a child's usual or predicted peak performance. That is on pulmonary functions. So if you're told to hold your breath, you're not able to hold it. When you're told to run on a treadmill, you're not able to do that. You start gasping for air. So those are some of the tests that are done to test the performance of the strength of your lungs and your heart. Then the treatment, keep the child warm, give the child breathing drugs as per the doctors prescribed, because we asthma cannot treat it over the counter. Another infection, pneumonia. Pneumonia, the symptoms, serious cough, fever, increased heartbeats, or what we call tachypnea, retractions. That is breathing, you breathe like, you breathe very fast, as if you're walking, as if you've been running. This time you've not done much. Wheezing, that is a sign of viral pneumonia. Or noises from your chest. When you breathe in, you can feel your lungs producing some wheezing sound in the lungs, not now the nose, in the lungs. You can feel the same wheezing there. Breathing sounds are not there. So even when you breathe, sometimes it's so silent until it's difficult for someone to know actually whether you're breathing or not. Other times you breathe with stress, If you've been to any casualty and you listen to people breathing, those that have been involved in accidents, those that are under asthmatic attack, those ones that have COVID, you will experience different types of breathing until you will wonder whether you are sick yourself. Then you'll have chest pain, abdominal pain, vomiting, na pua yako itaanza kuchipuka, na kutoka vinonda na kuumwa. Then the treatment, again, just like asthma, you cannot self-medicate unless the doctor gives you medication to go take at home. So take the child to the hospital and then continue giving the drugs as the doctors have instructed. So that is all on the nose and throat diseases that I wanted to share with you. Okay. Right. So now, the network will not throw us out again. And just before I completed my exited the presentation, you've actually seen that washing hands is the best way to stop the spread of infections. Okay. And we always advise that you wash hands at least 5 times a day. How many times have you washed your hands? If you've washed 20 or 50 times, bravo. If you've washed less, or you wash only once when you're leaving home and then you come back to wash again at home, at least it's advisable you do it a minimum of 5 times, but washing them every other time, if you can, well and good. Okay? Because when you wash them regularly, you will reduce and decrease the frequency of the colds, the flu, and all those other nose and throat infections that we've gone through. So if someone is at home preparing food, we also advise that they wash their hands before they start preparing food, before feeding a child, before eating, after using a washroom, after helping a child to use the washroom, after handling pets or other animals, including cows, domestic animals. They should also wash their hands, me and you included, before changing a child's diapers and after changing, after we blow the noses, after we wipe a child's nose, before performing, am I still connected? Before performing first aid, or even before applying a band, even before applying your sunscreen, yeah, you need to actually wash your hands. On the other hand, children should wash hands before eating or before helping with food preparation at home. And the same things we've said after using the washroom, after sneezing, after coughing, after using a tissue, after playing with toys shared with other children. In addition, they should wash their hands before and after playing at the water table, after playing outside, after playing in the sandbox, and after handling animals or animal waste. So in other words, what I'm saying is that hands must be cleaned all the time. And then to wash your hands, one should use regular soap that does not contain antibacterial agents. And now I know people will ask, hey, I thought we are killing bacteria and viruses. Now, when you are not killing a specific virus, like now the whole world is killing coronavirus, yeah, which is a Chinese viral disease. Normally, you're not supposed to use antibacterial agents. You're supposed to use normal soap and water. And when you do this effectively, even with COVID, when you wash your hands, rubbing them together with soap for 20 seconds, and then you rinse your hands for 10 seconds. Yeah. I insist that regular soap is good, is appropriate. Kipande, you know. There was one time when Corona became gumu and there were no sanitizers and people were told to use kipande. And there was an expert in hand washing who came to tell people actually that bar soap works well. So regular soap is appropriate for use. It removes the dirt. Yes. the grease that attract bad bacteria, but it does not kill the good bacteria, and that is the good part of it. When you use regular soap, it only kills the bad bacteria, but it does not kill the good bacteria. It kills the bad and leaves the good bacteria. When you use anything antibacterial, even if it's sanitizer, even if it is bathing soap, you know, like Dettol, like ni gani zingine mnajua ni antibacterial? There is Dettol, there is Lifebuoy. What other
Protex.
antibacterial? Protex. Now, those ones are not good when you want to protect your family in the long term. Those ones are not good. So, and they're not good because they kill the good and the bad bacteria. Anything bacteria, they kill it. And you see, they say they kill 100% or 99.9%.
99.9%.
99.9.
Yeah, so 99.9, that tells you round off. So it's 100%. So now, let me light that, like, see it's dark. So now if it kills bacteria 99.9%, then that tells you it has killed the good bacteria which you need, and also the bad. Now, we need the good bacteria. That's why it's important that you use a bar soap, not antibacterial soaps or sanitizers. Yeah? Using antibacterial products unnecessarily increases the concentration of antibiotics in the water supply and in the environment. So now you can imagine when you use the antibacterial soaps, everyone is using them today in form of sanitizer, in form of soaps, and we are washing our hands. The water is being drained into the soil. So our environment, even in the chambers where we are, our environment is increasingly being concentrated with antibiotics. So you drink these antibiotics in the water supply, you will eat these antibiotics in the food supplies that are being grown in the environment, because water and drainage goes back to the soil. So there is a danger, and the impact will come much later. You see, the Wazungus have been using antibacterial sanitizers and soaps very often. See what happened when COVID came. The good and bad bacteria they did not have. In Kenya and in African countries, we don't use them as much. So we have good bacteria fighting for us, fighting the bad bacteria. But now that we have adopted that system, see how the third wave and the fourth wave is affecting more people, because the good bacteria is eroded, it's not there to help us. Yeah? One can also use the so-called alcohol-based hand rubs, because they kill many bacteria and viruses. And alcohol does not cause antibiotic resistance. So wale wa chupa, wale wa spirits, as long as it's anything alcohol, then you can wash your hands with it. So you can literally buy alcohol, dry spirits to wash your hands. That one will be good, and it does not cause antibiotic resistance. That's why unasikia wale wakisema, I was kidding, nilikuwa naondoa mashida ya tumbo. That's why I was taking this one to kill bacteria. However, they are not effective against some of the germs that cause diarrhea. That is the alcohols. And don't work if your hands are greasy or visibly dirty. So you must have, your hands must be like the ones you have now, because you're touching your book, you're touching your computers, your phones, and you're not greasing them off. So if your hands is like that, then you can use alcohol. But if you're in a farm situation, alcohol will not be a good option for you. If you're a mechanic, alcohol will not be a good option for you. All right? If you're doing dishes, alcohol will not be a good option for you. That soap that you're using to clean the dishes, use it to clean the hands. So we've said that alcohol is good, but if your hands are greasy na uchafu ile unaiona kabisa, then alcohol will not work. But it's good. It does not cause antibiotic resistance like the antibacterial soaps will. Okay? Alcohol-based hand wraps are quick to use and are especially convenient when soap and water are not available. But they are not a substitute for hand washing. And when you're buying these products that are alcohol-based or rubbing your hands where water is not available, then there's a percentage you must always consider. And this is a very good topic because we are talking it when everyone is practically using hand wraps, washing with water, and washing with alcohol-based detergents. So whenever you're thinking about the alcohol-based hand wrap, look at the percentage there and go for 60% alcohol to be effective. I will tell you, if it's African made, the percentage may not be accurate, so that's why. And if it's China made, it can be the same thing. Kenyans and Chinese are liars. So whatever products they give you, if they tell you this is meat, it could actually be vegetable or chemical. So if you think there's a company you believe and trust in, then buy that product, but look at the percentage. If it's at least 60% alcohol, then that will be effective. It's important to always check that level. Okay? The soaps, the alcohol-based hand wraps are safe for children if used with supervision, but are again poisonous if a child decides to eat it or ingest it. So if you give them to rub their hands, they rub their hands, and within no time they put their fingers in the mouth, or they lick their hands, then that is poison being ingested right there. So if you have children, always talk to them before demonstrate how to use these hand wraps, how they should apply it in their hands, how they rub it, and also tell them the dangers that can come when they ingest, when they eat it. So always take care. Tell them not to put their hands in their mouth until the alcohol evaporates. It's even better if they don't put their hands in the mouth at all. In addition, nowadays we have wand dispensers everywhere. Some people have even put the dispensers in their houses. The wand dispensers and containers of alcohol-based hand wraps should be placed at a height that cannot be reached by small children. So if you put it where they can reach it, they can experiment and explore and do whatever they want with it when you're not inside. So just like anything else, medicine and all that, this is also a pharmaceutical product. Keep it away from them. So put at a height where they will not reach on their own. And always make sure there's someone within the home to monitor what they do when they get to it. So remember the height where to place it. It is where small children will not reach it. Then caregivers, and we are all caregivers now, we need to know that alcohol-based hand wraps are flammable. They can catch fire and should not be stored near a source of heat. You've had a few cases of people sanitizing their hands and their car keys, and when they ignite, when they put the car keys to the ignition and ignite the car, a flame sparks and the car catches fire. This is because the alcohol-based hand wraps are flammable. Now, we need to guard against the spread of diseases through contact with the nose and throat secretions. So I've just given you some precaution to take into consideration. And now, how we look at how we can guard us against the diseases that we contact through the nose and throat secretions. So as caregivers, knowing that we all have the saliva, so we have our secretions, all of us, from the nose, from the throat, then how can we help the spread? How can we curb the spread? So always cover your mouth and nose with a tissue when you cough or sneeze. Teach children to sneeze or cough into the inner arm where the elbow flexes instead of sneezing or coughing into the hands. You know, hii mikono tunapeana kila saa. Of course, even when you do it on the elbow flexes, you still be carrying those bacteria and viruses with you, and some will go to the air, to the environment, to the air, and those around you can actually inhale them, or some can attach to themselves. But this method decreases the spread of disease from infection on the hands. So now, because hands, people are touching hands every now and then. You see now, during Corona, people are not shaking hands, but they're hugging, they're touching each other with the elbows, with the back of the hands, and now the back of the hands have become another super spreader. And because kila mtu unaenda ukimguza na hiyo, kiguza huyu unaguza ile, so it's the same as handshake. So the other thing you can do to stop this spread, dispose of the soiled pieces, like the tissue, like the serviettes, yeah, the disposable ones, dispose them off, especially those ones that have discharge from the nose and or from the mouth, the vomit, the feces. Dispose them into a disposal bin that is lined and covered. Ideally, we recommend the pop-up lid, where you go step on the pen, it pops, the lid pops open, you draw whatever you want to draw inside, and you let it go. Because then if you use one where you have to open with your hands, chances are, when you pick whatever you're picking, your hands have gotten the virus and the bacteria. So even as you go to open the bin and put inside, you leave the bacteria there. So you'll go, yes, wash your hands, but you've already contaminated the lid of the bin. So the bin should be lined with a disposable plastic bag all the time. And then when removing, you hold by the top and tie the tops together such that the contents of the plastic bag that was lining your bin are not exposed and they are concealed up to the time where they are disposed appropriately at the place where they need to be disposed. I hope we are still together. Okay. What else did I want to say right here? And we need to do that so that we can protect the children. Huh? All right. Now I want to show you some two videos. The first video is on sore throats. And it is by the Ear, Nose and Throat Institute. Oops, my phone is gone. Okay, so I don't know if someone can share the link for us here on the WhatsApp. I connect with my phone. I don't know if my laptop the speakers are not so good. So mtu atutumie link hapa. Mine too inakubali then inakatika. Okay, my net is low. My end due to rings. I'm sorry. It's okay. Someone can share the link here to join. I share the videos through my phone. So as I put the videos on the phone, you can again give me the link. Because najua my speakers on the laptop are not good. They are vibrating. So I'm waiting for someone to share the link. Meanwhile, I go and make sure the video is here. Okay. Has someone shared the link? Okay. Not yet. Okay, I've seen it. Thank you, Kimoi. Now okay, what was I doing? Oh, you shared the link here. I wanted the link for the the link for the Google meeting. I've already put the videos here, so I wanted the Google Meet link. So if someone can share the link for the meeting. Is someone sharing the link for the meeting? Is someone sharing the Google Meet link with us on the WhatsApp? No, maybe. I'm going for it. Umetuma YouTube link. Okay, thank you, Chombo. Asante sana. Oh, watu wanatuma huko kwa chat. Okay. I was looking for the Google Meet link on the WhatsApp so that I use my phone to take you to the video. Okay, so now I minimize my laptop speakers. Okay, now I'm on my phone and I'm going to share my screen. Beatrice, if you mute your video, it will help others to have good connection because we are overstretched. So if you mutate your video bitrates, you reduce the bandwidth consumption and people can all listen now, just listening. I hope umenielewa. Not, I meant muting your video, not your voice. Your voice is muted, but the video, when people put their videos on in class and there is bundle network, then the bandwidth is consumed much more. Haya, huyo sijui kama ananielewa vile naongea, lakini ni sawa. So I take you to where? Beatrice, are you pretending not to hear me or something? Sorry? I've been talking to you. Okay.
I think it's Eddie that time. I think it's Eddie.
Naona video ni ya Beatrice. Naona jina Beatrice. Okay, so this is the video I want you to watch. I've shared it and I hope you can see it. Can you see it?
Yes, Doctor.
Yes,
Right.
Yes, doctor.
yes, Doctor.
Yes, doctor.
Hey, KJ, toka hapa. KJ, tulikuwa tunasoma na yeye undergraduate. So this is the one I wanted you to see, not the KJ person, eh?
Most sore throats are caused by viruses, so everybody's pretty familiar with the doctor telling you that. Some sore throats are caused by bacteria, and everybody's probably also familiar with it. And that's kind of that most important bacterial one to diagnose.
Sorry.
Most sore throats are caused by viruses, so everybody's pretty familiar with the doctor telling you that. Some sore throats are caused by bacteria, and everybody's probably also familiar with the strep throat that you get the test for. And that's kind of that most important bacterial one to diagnose.
You remember we talked about sore throat and strep throats? So she's talking about sore throat and strep throats.
As it has some complications. Allergies can also cause sore throats. Reflux, which is acid coming back up from your throat, can cause sore throats. And a variety of other minor things that you have to worry about if you're a smoker. Tumor or growth can cause a sore throat. That's pretty rare, of course, and not something we see in kids. For a amount of time, it's okay if you don't go to the doctor for a sore throat. If it's a mild sore throat, lasts a day or two, probably not worth going to the doctor. So most people get severity and duration. So if you have a sore throat that's so bad that you can't swallow, so bad that you can't open your mouth, or if you have a fever associated with it, then a temp of 100 to 101 for a day or two is probably okay. But 102, 103, or fever not going away after a day or two, those are all things you're going to want to see the doctor for. A sore throat, if it's in that 5 to 7 day range and it's not getting any better, good time to see the doctor. If you've got a sore throat that's kind of more not the acute one, but kind of chronic, if it's going on for a couple of weeks, definitely you should see the doctor in that time frame. When you go into the doctor and it's for an acute sore throat, you're probably going to end up with a strep test. And if you get a bacterial result on that, if it's strep, then you're going to get some antibiotics. Otherwise, you're going to get told it's a virus. Take some time on Motrin, Gargle, bacterial result on that. If it's strep, then you're going to get some antibiotics. Otherwise, you're going to get told it's a virus. Take some time on Motrin, Gargle with some warm salt water, and wait till it goes away. If it's more complicated, if it's something due to allergies or reflux that's determined by your physician, then you're possibly going to get some treatment for your allergies, possibly some dietary changes to try to treat your reflux. Over-the-counter things for sore throats should only be used on a very temporary basis. The throat sprays and the sore throat cough meds, that type of thing. If you read the labels, it's going to say use them for 2 or 3 days. But actually, Tylenol and Motrin and warm saltwater gargle is better than any of the over-the-counter stuff.
Okay. Now, what have you learned from that video? Oh, there was no voice. What have you learned from that video? You're not? I'm not audible? Did you watch the first video?
Yes, Doctor, but the voice was not that clear.
Okay, something is not right somewhere. I have not heard anything.
I heard about the sore throat and the symptoms.
Have you watched the first video? What happened?
It was breaking from my side.
So do I repeat it again?
Yes, please, doctor.
Okay.
Abby, can you hear
Oh,
anything?
okay. I'm saying those with videos on to mute their videos, because we have to put their videos off so that we don't so that the videos can be clearer. So I'm going back to presenting the video again. Okay. And I'm presenting the very first video that I thought I had finished presenting. This one.
Most sore throats are caused by viruses, so everybody's pretty familiar with the doctor telling you that. Some sore throats are caused by bacteria, and everybody's probably also familiar with strep throat that you get the test for.
I just want to check that actually you can hear, and I believe so. Correct?
Yes, doctor.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's kind of that most important bacterial one to diagnose because it has some complications. Allergies can also cause sore throats. Reflux, which is acid coming back up from your throat, can cause sore throats. And a variety of other minor things that you have to worry about if you're a smoker. Tumor or growth can cause a sore throat. That's pretty rare, of course, and not something we see in kids. For amount of time, it's okay if you don't go to the doctor for a sore throat. If it's a mild sore throat, lasts a day or two, probably not worth going to the doctor. So most people get severity and duration. So if you have a sore throat that's so bad that you can't swallow, so bad that you can't open your mouth, or if you have a fever associated with it, then a temp of 100 to 101 for a day or two is probably okay. But 102, 103, or fever not going away after a day or two, those are all things you're going to want to see the doctor for. A sore throat, if it's in that 5 to 7 day range and it's not getting any better, good time to see the doctor. If you've got a sore throat that's kind of more not the acute one, but kind of chronic, if it's going on for a couple of weeks, definitely you should see the doctor in that time frame. When you go into the doctor and it's more of an acute sore throat, you're probably going to end up with a strep test. And if you get a bacterial result on that, if it's strep, then you're going to get some antibiotics. Otherwise, you're going to get told it's a virus. Take some Tylenol or Motrin, gargle with some salt water, and wait till it goes away. If it's more complicated, if it's something due to allergies or reflux as determined by your physician, then you're possibly going to get some treatment for your allergies, possibly some dietary changes. Over-the-counter things for sore throats should only be used on a temporary basis. The throat sprays and the sore throat cough meds, that type of thing. If you read the labels, it's going to say we'll use them for 2 or 3 days. But actually, Tylenol.
So you see, when you're doing self-treatment, whether it's traditional treatment, you're doing taking those concoctions that are boiled, the lemon, the ginger with honey. It's the same thing as self-medication, just like going to over-the-counter. So Kenyans mostly will go traditional because with traditional options, while in the US, over-the-counter medications. So Kenyans will go over-the-counter medications and also they'll go traditional. But the effects here are the same, so listen to our advisor.
Motrin and warm salt water gargle is better than over-the-counter stuff.
So I hope you're able to follow that video. Was it clearer? Or it was still breaking up?
The video was clearer, although some words were not that audible.
Okay, sasa huyo ni mzungu si Mkenya. Then I take you to the second video. that I want you to learn from. So I'm still on my presentation mode. So again, watch and learn.
You've likely experienced the symptoms of a sore throat in your lifetime. Itching, scratching, and burning aren't fun, especially if they're accompanied by other symptoms of a cold or a more serious virus. Sore throats can be downright miserable. However, in most cases, you can find relief without immediately running to your doctor. In this video, we share 10 ways to feel better when a sore throat sets in. Any extra resources or information will be included in the description, so make sure to check it out. Our first tip is to gargle with salt water. Gargling with warm salt water can help soothe a scratchy throat. The salt pulls the mucus out of your swollen, inflamed tissue and helps relieve the discomfort. The Mayo Clinic recommends combining 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of table salt with 4 to 8 ounces of warm water. Stir until the salt dissolves. Then gargle with it for several seconds and spit it out. Repeat the salt gargle several times each day. At number 2, we recommend sucking on a lozenge. Some over-the-counter throat lozenges contain menthol, an ingredient that can gently numb the tissue in your throat. This can provide you with temporary relief from burning and pain sensations. In a pinch, candy and cough drops increase your saliva production and help keep your throat lubricated. However, candy and cough drops won't soothe your sore throat for as long as medicated lozenges or relieve it as effectively, and you may find yourself needing relief again soon. Avoid giving lozenges or cough drops to young children. Both are a choking hazard. At number 3, we recommend trying over-the-counter pain relief. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, viruses cause the most sore throats. Viruses can't be treated with antibiotics, which only kill bacteria. Instead, the virus has to run its course in your body. OTC non-steroidal anti-inflammatory medicines such as ibuprofen or naproxen can reduce inflammation and swelling in your throat. They can also relieve soreness or scratchiness. At number 4, we recommend honey. Warm tea that is sweetened with honey can help soothe your irritated throat. Tea also keeps you hydrated, which is another important step in treating a sore throat. Brew up a cup next time a sore throat starts to tickle. You might consider choosing a green tea, which serves as an antibacterial pain reliever and rich source of antioxidants, as well as helps reduce inflammation. Honey has another benefit when you're sick. Research shows that it's an effective cough suppressant and works well as an OTC cough medication. At number 5, we recommend trying a euthanasia and sage spray. Use a few spritzes of a spray containing a combination of euthanasia and sage. A study in the European Journal of Medical Research finds this herbal remedy soothes a sore throat as well as OTC sore throat relief sprays. At number 6, we recommend staying hydrated. Staying hydrated is an important part of treating a sore throat. When you're dehydrated, your body can't produce enough saliva and mucus to keep your throat naturally lubricated. This will make the swelling and inflammation worse. Water is a good choice, as are warm teas or warm soups. Hot tea or hot soup, however, may actually burn your already sensitive throat and make the problem worse. Avoid caffeine and alcohol, which can dry you out even more. At number 7, we recommend use a humidifier. Breathing in moist air can help soothe swollen tissue in your nose and throat. Turn on a cool mist humidifier to increase the amount of moisture in your room. You can buy humidifiers at most retailers or check the description to buy online. At number 8, we recommend giving yourself a steam shower. If you don't have a humidifier, you can still get relief from moist air. Breathe in the steam from a warm shower to help reduce swelling and ease the pain of a sore throat. You can also create steam by running very hot water into a sink. Drape a towel over your head and lean into the sink to breathe in the steam. Keep taking breaths for several minutes and repeat as necessary to ease your sore throat. You might try boiling some water in a pot on the stove for 30 minutes to increase humidity in your house. Add a tablespoon of menthol ointment such as Vicks Vapor Rub to the boiling water to fill the air with decongestion menthol aromas. At number 9, we recommend raising your head. When congestion comes with your sore throat, prop an extra pillow or two under your head. The extra height will help you breathe easier. With your congestion relieved, you won't have to sleep with your mouth open, which can dry out your throat and cause it to hurt even more. And for our final tip, we recommend getting a prescription. Viruses cause most sore throats, but sometimes the culprit can be bacteria such as Streptococcus, which causes strep throat. If your sore throat doesn't go away or gets worse, or you're running a fever, see your doctor for a strep test. You might need an antibiotic. If your doctor does prescribe an antibiotic, finish the entire course. Don't stop taking the medicine even if your symptoms disappear and you begin to feel better. Stopping the antibiotic could lead.
And by the way, that's very important where he talks about finishing antibiotics. If you don't finish antibiotics, you develop resistance. And when you develop resistance, it means whatever you have cannot be cured. So it's very, very important to always make sure whenever there is a problem with whenever you are given, you have problem with your tonsils and you've been given your tonsils, they are unwell, so you've developed tonsillitis, you've been given antibiotics for 5 days or 7 days. Even if you get better by the 3rd day, it is actually important that you finish the dose even after you get better. Because if you don't do that, you don't finish the dose, what happens is that the next time that you develop tonsils again, tonsillitis, that is, sorry, when you develop it, and then you're given the same medication, you'll not be healed. You develop what we call resistance. So unakunywa dawa na uponi. So it's important for antibiotics, for whatever disease you've been given antibiotics for, whether the dose is 5 days or 7 days, ni lazima imalizwe.
Some bacteria behind to reinfect you, and these bacteria that survive may no longer respond to the antibiotic. So that sums up our top 10 tips for curing a sore throat. If you found any of it useful, then hit that like button. And if you're new here, feel free to subscribe.
So that is it on that. And I want to show you the kidney stones. I hope you're still on. I want to show you the kidney stones now. The kidney stones, the tonsil stones. I want to show you the tonsil stones so that we are together. Just a moment. I'm sending the link to my phone so that I can show you. Na naona ni kama kajafika. Ndiko haka. So this one again, watch and learn. Connection went off again over here. I'm using Bluetooth, and Bluetooth I can see they're connected, so get going.
Hello, my name is Vic Veer, and I'm an ENT surgeon working in London, UK. This is a very short video about tonsil stone. I want to give you a little bit of information about the stone. But you can imagine how large the stones get within this fish. Many people with tonsil stones either pick them out or inject fluid into them to flush them out. The devices to do this are in the description below. But the standard teaching is that the only way to get rid of tonsil stones is to remove the tonsils. Now, I do have some ideas of how to get rid of stones without surgery. And if any of these ideas work, I will share it on this.
Have you seen that? That was a kidney stone. Huh? I feel like I can show you another one. Let me show you this one.
A sore
throat can be a sign of all kinds of medical maladies. You might have caught a cold from your coworkers or just cheered too loudly at that big game last night. But if it feels like there's an irritating lump in your throat, there might actually be something stuck back there, a whitish, yellowish tonsil stone. These hard globs come from the food bits, dead cells, and other junk in your mouth. But even though they might be a little weird and uncomfortable and gross, they're not really dangerous. Your tonsils are part of your lymphatic system. They work with a bunch of other tissues to get rid of waste and fight off infections. There are actually 3 different groups of tonsils, but tonsil stones mostly show up in the palatine tonsils. The palatine tonsils are those 2 squishy patches at the back of your throat that you can see in the mirror if you open your mouth wide enough. The palatine tonsils are full of tonsillar crypts, which are deep folds of tissue that are designed to lure in bacteria and maximize the amount of tissue that those bacteria touch. That way, lots of immune cells can be exposed to potential pathogens and start to build up a targeted immune response with antibodies to fight them off. Unfortunately, when you have cozy crevices for bacteria, sometimes they get a little too comfortable. These crypts can collect dead cells, extra mucus, and food debris or other particles that somehow end up in your mouth, which provide a delicious breeding ground for lots of different microbes. After a film of bacteria forms, these goopy lumps can start to calcify, becoming hard structures made of calcium and other minerals. The solid lumps that form are called tonsil stones, or tonsilloliths. Tonsil stones can vary in size from a couple of millimeters to a couple centimeters. Sometimes people just swallow them, or sometimes they stick around and can irritate your throat. Some bacteria that have been found on tonsil stones produce lots of sulfur compounds, which might cause bad breath. But that's usually the worst of it. It's really rare for tonsil stones to get big enough to be dangerous and make swallowing painful or difficult. If you want to get rid of them, you can try to pop them out using a brush or some gargling, or you can go to an ear, nose, and throat doctor for extra help. Tonsil removing surgery is a last resort if these chunks form all the time or become severely irritating. Other than surgery, there's not much you can do to stop tonsil stones from forming. They're just one of those weird things your body does sometimes, but at least they're not dangerous. Thanks for asking. Thanks especially to all of our patrons on Patreon who keep these answers coming. If you'd like to support us on Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/SciShow. Don't forget to go to youtube.com/SciShow and subscribe. Bundle selection at the back of our throat helps with 4 different things that all.
I also want to show you another video, some 2 more videos, and then we'll be done. And I hope you're still connected, or am I talking to myself? Are you still there?
Yeah, together.
Now you've seen what.
Yes.
Thank you. You've seen what the tonsil stones are. Now I want to show you another video that I still want you to learn from. So I'll go again to the videos to ground more of your learning. This one is not on the LMS, but it's still good for you. It will help you to understand a little bit more. So my net here is pole pole sana, but bear with me. Okay, still touring. Okay, all inboxes. Okay, network inaringa tu. Ama ndio hii imeingia. So then again, I want you to watch this and learn, and I will also show you another one. One more.
Group A Streptococcus, also known as Streptococcus pyogenes, is the most common bacterial cause of acute tonsillitis. Here's a mouth with pharyngeal tonsillitis, inflammation of both the pharynx and the tonsils. Here's a photo of bacterial tonsillitis. Pharyngeal tonsillitis caused by group A Streptococcus is sometimes referred to as strep throat. The majority of episodes of pharyngitis are caused by viral infections, which are usually treated conservatively. However, early recognition of Streptococcus pyogenes is important, since failure to appropriately treat strep throat may lead to group A Streptococcus complications. Unfortunately, distinguishing between viral and bacterial causes can be difficult. The The group A Streptococcus are beta hemolytic cocci, able to produce some exotoxins and also contain many surface antigens that play a vital role in pathophysiology, such as the M proteins. Transmission of strep throat is through saliva and nasal secretions from an infected person. Here, group A Streptococcus target the palatine tonsils.
If you're following, you can tell this video is literally showing you whatever we've been talking about. So if there will be repetition, it's because I want you to be grounded. And I also want you to hear it from other sources so that you can be able to gauge whether the knowledge Murungi is sharing is the knowledge that the world knows and understands. Okay? Because we are living in a global village. Sawa sawa. So continue following.
Yes.
I hope they're still on. Okay. And I think this one is a very good lesson. Take your notes.
However, it's also important to remember group A Streptococcus is an important commensal organism as well, meaning that a lot of people have group A Streptococcus normally residing in their oral cavity and nasal cavity. The incubation period of strep throat is usually 2 to 5 days of no symptoms. When symptoms do arise, bacterial tonsillitis causes sudden onset fevers, sore throat, pharyngitis, and tonsillitis, which is reddening of the tonsils, enlargement, and purulent exudate. On the soft palate, you can also see palate petechiae. Here again is a photo of strep throat. Note the enlarged tonsils and exudate in yellow. Other features include dysphagia, difficulty swallowing, odanophagia, pain when swallowing, and tender cervical lymphadenopathy. On physical examination, the pharynx is red, tonsils are red and enlarged with purulent exudate. A throat swab can be performed. A throat swab with microscopic culture and sensitivity in blood agar will help diagnose group A Streptococcus because it will show a beta hemolytic cocci. The throat swab for rapid antigen detection, RADT, can also be used. In general, though, throat swabs are not very useful because remember, group A Streptococcus are commensal organisms in many people. Other investigations include a full blood count, which will show neutrophilia, high neutrophils. It's an important concept to remember to help differentiate viral and bacterial tonsillitis. Remember, lymphocytosis supports a viral cause of acute tonsillitis, whereas neutrophilia supports more of a bacterial cause. Early recognition of management is important to reduce the complications associated with group A Streptococcus throat infection. The management of Streptococcus throat infection is antibiotics, specifically penicillins or amoxicillin. It's also important to monitor for complications of the antibiotics. Firstly, if a rash eruption occurs, think to yourself, could this be a virus penicillin reaction, which will support a diagnosis of Epstein-Barr virus tonsillitis rather than bacterial tonsillitis, in which case the antibiotics should be stopped. The second thing to think about is whether this could be a proper allergic reaction to the penicillin, in which the antibiotics should be changed. Thirdly, another differential for rash eruption with someone who has strep throat and has been commenced on antibiotics is scarlet fever. Antibiotics is first-line treatment. However, for people with recurrent tonsillitis or severe tonsillitis, surgery to remove the tonsils is indicated. This is called tonsillectomy. Other complications of group A Streptococcus specifically can be divided into suppurative complications and non-suppurative complications. Suppurative complications include peritonsillar abscess, parapharyngeal space abscess, or retropharyngeal abscess, sinusitis, where the infection extends to the sinuses, as well as acute otitis media. The infection spreads up the eustachian tube into the middle ear cavity. cellulite and impetigo of different regions around the mouth, as well as the ear. Meningitis, a serious complication, as well as osteomyelitis and septic arthritis, another very serious complication. The suppurative complications of group A streptococcus is because the bacteria is able to spread from its initial location, mounting an immune response and inflammation elsewhere. The non-suppurative complications of group A streptococcus is usually a result of exotoxins and M proteins of the bacteria. For example, an immune cell called the antigen-presenting cell can engulf the bacteria group A streptococcus and present the M protein of the bacteria to the adaptive immune system, made up of the T cells and B cell. It will present the M protein antigens to these guys in the lymph nodes, for example, so that they can mount an immune response towards the M protein. When the adaptive immune system is activated, the B cells, which are the antibody-producing cells, will start making antibodies against the M proteins. Unfortunately, the M proteins share similar structure to many other cells in our body and can also trigger unnecessary immune complex formation and response elsewhere. This can result in rheumatic fever when the antibodies start attacking the body's own cells through molecular mimicry. The antibodies produced against the group A streptococcus antigens can form immune complexes and also accidentally attack the kidneys, causing post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis. The antibodies against M proteins can also cross-react with the heart structures, leading to rheumatic heart disease. Finally, exotoxins produced by group A streptococcus can lead to scarlet fever. I hope you enjoyed this overview video of group A streptococcus throat infection, also known as strep throat. Thank you.
That is thank you very much for this video. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Now, one thing you've learned that actually I missed from my lecture is that I did not talk about how it can affect the kidneys. I only talked about the heart. Now it's good that you've listened because something about the kidneys has also been brought up. So whenever someone suffers streptococcal pharyngitis, it's always important to go for a checkup. In simple terms, when someone has got signs and symptoms of a strep throat, then it's very, very important that they go for checkup. I want to show you, I've finished my class, but I'm grounding the orange and I want to show you another video because I want to ground you more and more. And this one I want to show you on common cold. Are you still following? Are you learning something?
Yes, we are, Doctor.
Yes, we are.
Thank you. Now this other video is on common cold. Then again, you watch and learn from it. My net has got problems, but you'll still be able to learn. Go on. Video get started. Okay. So sasa tumekwama hapa.
Today's topic is common cold. The common cold is a viral infection that affects the upper respiratory tract. The common cold primarily affects the nose, but can also affect the throat, sinuses, and larynx. The common cold and influenza are both respiratory illnesses, but the two conditions are caused by different viruses. Those affected by cold have symptoms that are similar to people suffering from influenza, but influenza symptoms are more severe. While cold symptoms can last for a few days, influenza symptoms can make you feel sick for a few days to weeks, and influenza can lead to serious health conditions, such as pneumonia and even sometimes hospitalization. The common cold is the most frequently occurring infectious disease in the world affecting humans. An average adult is infected 2 to 3 times a year, while an average child may get cold 6 to 8 times a year, depending on their age and exposure. The common cold is prevalent during the fall, winter, and spring. Causes.
So now for us, we don't have the spring and the winter, but we have the rainy season, which ranks in the months of July. Which other month is cold? April, is it warm or cold? May? Nowadays is not predictable, but you get a feeling of... Okay.
200 cold viruses exist, but the most common that is thought to be responsible for at least
These are the causes,
50% of cold is the rhinovirus. Other viruses that can lead to cold include coronavirus, adenovirus, and respiratory syncytial virus. The virus enters the body through the mouth, eyes, or nose, and is spread by hand-to-hand contact. This usually happens when an infected person blows or touches their nose and then touches a person or an object. A healthy individual who is exposed to this infected secretion, either by direct contact or by touching the contaminated object, becomes infected often after their contaminated hand touches their own eyes, nose, or mouth. The virus can also spread through a droplet in the air after infected individuals sneeze, cough, or talk. Symptoms. Symptoms usually occur after 1 to 3 days of being exposed to a cold virus. These signs and symptoms may vary from person to person and include sore throat, cough, sneezing, runny or stuffy nose, loss of smell or taste, low-grade fever, chest discomfort, difficulty breathing, fatigue or tiredness, body aches, chills, a headache, mucus draining into the back of the throat from the nose, hoarse voice. Diagnosis and treatment. A doctor can diagnose the common cold based on your signs and symptoms and findings during physical exam. If there are concerns about another underlying medical condition, such as a bacterial infection, your doctor may order an X-ray or other tests. Treatment. No cure exists for the common cold. The common cold will resolve with time on its own and expectant management. Home remedies and medical treatment are directed at relieving the symptoms associated with the common cold. Home remedies for the common cold in older children and adults may include getting rest, taking a lot of fluids, using saline nasal drops to help relieve nasal congestion. Warm salt water gargle may be beneficial to people with a sore throat. In infants and small children, home remedies may include getting rest, taking plenty of fluids, saline nasal drops, and bulb suctioning may be used in clearing mucus from the nasal passage. This procedure involves applying a saline drop and then gently suctioning the nostril with a bulb syringe.
So there's Daktari that in Kenya you use your mouth, you suck the mucus from the nose with your mouth, and throw it away.
About 1/2 or 1/4 inch. Medical treatment may include pain relievers for fever, sore throat, and headache, acetaminophen, as in Tylenol and others, and ibuprofen, like Advil, may help with such symptoms. Adults can use decongestant nasal sprays, but children younger than 6 are not recommended to use decongestant nasal spray. Thank you for watching our video. Please do not...
Thank you. We've learned from you. And now I want to take you to the very last video. And there was someone waiting outside. Sorry, I did not see you come. So sorry for waiting. We are almost winding up. We want to do the last video. And this is it. This one is on influenza. It's about the flu.
Influenza
Influenza, or the flu, is a contagious viral infection that attacks your nose, throat, and lungs. It can cause fever, chills, runny nose, sore throat, cough, muscle aches, and fatigue. The flu virus is extremely small and only visible through electron microscopes. Inside the virus, genetic material contains the information to make more copies of the same virus. A protein shell provides a hard, protective enclosure for the genetic material as the virus travels between the people or animals it infects. An outer envelope allows the virus to infect cells by merging with the cell's outer membrane. Projecting from the envelope are spikes of protein molecules. The flu virus uses its H spikes like a key to get inside your cells. N spikes allow copies of the virus to break away from your infected cells to infect more cells. There are 17 known types of H spikes and 9 types of N spikes that scientists use to name different flu viruses, such as the virus H5N1. You get the flu by touching an object that has the flu virus on it, or through exposure to body fluids from people or animals infected with the virus. When an infected person talks, coughs, or sneezes, droplets carrying the influenza virus may land in your mouth or nose and then move into your lungs. Once inside your body, the influenza virus comes into contact with cells in your nose, throat, or lungs. The H spike on the virus inserts into a receptor molecule on your healthy cell membrane, like a key in a lock. This action allows the virus to get inside your cell. Next, the virus travels inside a sac made from your cell membrane to your cell's nucleus. Then, the viral envelope and cell membrane sac combine, allowing the viral genetic material to leave the sac and enter the nucleus. The viral genetic material hijacks the energy and materials in your cell's nucleus to make thousands of copies of itself. Some of the genetic material moves out of the nucleus, then attaches to ribosomes, which are the protein building parts of your cell. Ribosomes use information from the genetic material to make other viral proteins, such as the H and N spikes. A packaging structure in your cell, called the Golgi apparatus, carries the H and N spikes in vesicles, which merge with your cell's membrane. All the parts needed to create a new virus gather just beneath your cell's membrane. Then a new virus begins to bud off from the cell's membrane. During this process, the newly created virus gets stuck on your cell's membrane when a viral H spike locks on to membrane receptors. However, the virus has a way to get around this problem. The viral N spike frees the virus by cutting it away from the receptor. New influenza viruses are now free to infect more of your cells and cause you to develop the flu. If you have the flu, your doctor may prescribe oseltamivir, which you would take orally, or zanamivir, which you would take using an inhaler, to help speed your recovery or reduce your risk for complications. These antiviral drugs stop the influenza virus by blocking the viral N spike from freeing the virus. This causes the new viruses to stick to the surface of your cell, so they cannot escape and infect more of your cells. The best way to protect yourself from the flu is to get the flu vaccine every year. You may get the vaccine as a shot, which contains dead versions of several types of the virus. Or you may receive it as a nasal spray, which contains several types of live but very weak forms of the virus. The vaccine exposes your body to several types of the influenza virus that are too weak to cause infection, but just strong enough to stimulate an immune response. Within 2 weeks, cells in your immune system make markers called antibodies, which are specific for only the types of flu you were exposed to. The antibodies attach to each flu virus and prevent it from attaching to your cells. Antibodies are also able to attach to more than one flu virus, which causes viruses to clump together. Your immune system responds to signals from the antibodies by engulfing and destroying the clumps of viruses. Later, if you are exposed to these types of flu again, your body recognizes and destroys them, so you will not develop the flu from these same viruses. For continued protection against new flu viruses, you will need to get a flu vaccine every year.
Okay, that was on flu. You've learned something, and now I'll stop sharing. That is all that I needed to share with you today. And I wish to end our class with that. I'll stop presenting now. And now I will ask whether there are any questions. We have looked at nose and throat infections. We have not finished with throat and nose infections. We will then again look at, in our next lesson, we are going to look at what will be the next. Okay, in just a moment. I tell you what we'll look at next. Gastrointestinal infections. Was that it? I thought there was something else. Let me. Is that it? Those that have seen the content? Have I missed anything? Or that was it? I think that is it. So now you'll be looking at, and I hope that is it, gastrointestinal infections. I guess that's where we are going. Is that so? Someone who is on the content can confirm, and if I confirm otherwise, I'll still let you know. But I think that is where we will be. Correct? Yes, that's where we will be. We'll be looking at gastrointestinal infections. So now we are done with the nose and throat infections. There are many that we can focus on, but we have to end it somewhere. I want to hear if there are any questions, then we can call it a day. So we've looked at, I wanted to show you the kidney stones and you've seen them. I know now you know you've seen them. Maybe you did not know they are kidney, they are at kidney. They are tonsil stones. I keep calling them kidney. Oh, and they are the ones that actually are responsible for causing inflammations of the throat, and they lead to tonsillitis, and they can affect, if not treated, if they are prolonged, the sickness is prolonged, they can cause heart problems and kidney problems. So I don't want to add anything because the lesson has been clear on itself. Any question? Grace, Beatrice, Jemima, Jennifer, Abby, Maureen, and those others? James, I hope you've been able to attend the class well from the hospital.
Yeah, I came back some 1 hour ago. This I managed.
Sawa. The noise there is because you're logged in with 2 gadgets and you're at the same time. External stones. I'm sorry for the confusion. Some people also develop kidney stones, especially those that take too much salt in their food. But We were not looking at kidney stones in this particular unit. We are not looking at that at all because it's not a common childhood disease. So yes, they are kidney stones. They are very painful, but for today we were looking at the tonsil stones. I'm sorry for the confusion. So then, are there other questions? Let me go to the chat and see what people have communicated. Sometimes I end class and I realize people posted things on the chat that I did not respond to. Okay. I've given, I think that is it. Only Eunice that was asking for if there was anything posted when the network was fluctuating, it goes with the network. So it's not captured in my current screen, but I think there are no questions on the chat as well. So it seems there are no questions. Then I will leave people to digest that. Class rep was asking for the last 3 videos. Actually, this recording entails everything, and I'm going to post it to you. Now that we are finishing this class, immediately we finish and Google Meet gives it back to me, then I'll send it to you. So now that there are no questions, I'm going to end this recording. I'm going to stop it, and I wish you all the very best. Enjoy your week and see you next week when we are looking at the next topic, which is basically talking about